Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here with more election stuff, and you have to watch Rudy Giuliani's Common Sense video. I'll put a link in the description. Keep up with Rudy, subscribe to him. And Rudy, if you're watching this, for God's sakes, get on BitChute, get on some of the other platforms. So if something super crucial comes down the pike, these guys can't silence you. Um, so Rudy's uh, coming down with more information about it's Smartmatic, as one of you corrected me in the comments, and the Smartmatic company, my understanding, originates in Venezuela and then moved to Toronto, and as part of the whole Dominion thing. So it was used to fix the elections in Venezuela and has been used in, according to Rudy, I think 27 states. And it was initially designed, you could flip the votes. And he explains that the way they do it is they target population centers, big cities, and they spread the vote flips across a big population center, which probably explains why uh, the Trump administration is only going after Detroit, the county with Detroit in it, Wayne County in Michigan, and the two biggest county populations in Wisconsin. Now, they haven't even done this in Georgia yet. I don't think they've gotten to the big population centers yet. But they seem to be steadily winning that. Every time they turn around, there's another county that's finding votes that weren't counted for Trump. So this doesn't even count the votes that flipped. But what Rudy is saying here is because they kicked out the observers in these areas, and because they can show that there is this program that flips votes, there's no way to recount them now, because it's kind of like when you're in a class and you ask, the old joke where you go up to the professor and the professor says, "I'm sorry, your time is done." And the student says to the professor, "Do you know who I am?" And he goes, "No." And then he just shoves his paper in the pile. So because the professor doesn't know who he is by name, the paper then gets counted because he can't punish the other students. So it's sort of like that. You can't punish a candidate because one side cheated and you know they cheated, or one side effed up and you know they effed up. They didn't allow observers, so you don't have the, let's say, the direct evidence, but you have the evidence of what they did. But now it's too late. The evidence has basically been destroyed, but you know what they did. It's just you can't separate the votes. That to me means that the elections are void. Or, as Rudy suggested, you would only count the election up until the point at which you knew the votes were being counted correctly. And Rudy goes on to say that the program even had a mechanism in it that would alert you when you were losing by too much, which he indicates is the reason why suddenly all these states stopped counting votes. They just stopped counting the votes, right? Like at around 90%, everybody grind to a halt and said, "Oh, wait, time out." We need to go to the bathroom. Oh, everybody's tired. Everybody's going to sleep. Yeah, no, that's ridiculous. They do this all the time in elections. They keep counting until it's done. They just bring in more people, or people just stay up all night. So it sounds to me like they really have a handle on this. They are going to flip the election, in my view. Now, some of you, or one of you, pointed out another interesting link. This is ONEDE sent me this link, and I sort of knew about it before. I think it was in an article, and somebody talked about this. But this was an executive order signed by Trump back in 2018 in September. Executive order on imposing certain sanctions in the event of foreign interference in a United States election. So keep in mind, Smartmatic came out of Venezuela. Dominion is a Canadian company, and Skyttle, and Rudy mentioned Skyttle at one point, just sort of off the cuff. He didn't mention the raid though, but he did mention that Skyttle had servers in Germany. So I think they probably, they must know about the raid, and I suspect that they conducted it because supposedly the CIA was kept out of it. That part I'm not too sure of now. I don't see how they could totally keep the CIA out of the loop. It seems almost impossible. But so this is the executive order, and somebody else talked about this, but this could be the thing that really F's up everybody who stepped against Trump and did this stuff. By the authority vested in me, blah, 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 president. Find that the ability of the persons located in or whole or in substantial part outside the United States to interfere or undermine in public confidence in the United States elections, including through the unauthorized accessing of election and campaign infrastructure or the covert distribution of propaganda and disinformation, constitutes an unusual, extraordinary threat to the national security and foreign policy of the United States. Although there has been no evidence of a foreign power altering the outcome of the vote tabulation in any United States elections, foreign powers have historically fought to exploit America's free political system, blah, blah, blah. So, remember, this was signed in 2018. So this is during the impeachment when they're talking about Russia. So Democrats would have looked at this and said, oh, well, he's just trying to make himself look good for impeachment, right? Like, he's trying to set this up in case the Russians get caught, he'll punish them and pretend like he was never a part of it. But no, I think he was thinking down the road to 2020, knowing what he knew, probably, about Dominion voting system, Smartmatic. He probably knew all this stuff back in 2018. And then they came up with this plan. And this is when it started. Accordingly, I hereby order, Section 1, no later than 45 days after the conclusion of a United States election, the Director of National Intelligence, in consultation with the heads of any other appropriate executive departments and agencies, shall conduct an assessment of any information indicating that a foreign government or any persons acting as an agent or behalf of a foreign government has acted with the intent or purpose of interfering in that election. So you've kind of got that here, right? Because this software is not from the United States. The assessment shall identify to the maximum extent ascertainable the nature of any foreign interference and any methods employed to execute it, the persons involved, the foreign government or governments that authorized, directed, sponsored, or supported it. The Director of National Intelligence shall deliver this assessment and appropriate supporting information to the President, Secretary of State, Secretary of Treasury, and blah, blah, a few other people. Within 45 days of receiving this assessment and information described, the Attorney General and Secretary of Homeland Security, in consultation with the heads of any other department agencies as appropriate, blah, 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 is the subject of assessment described in Section 1A. The extent at which any foreign interference that targeted the election infrastructure materially affected the security. If any foreign interference involved activities targeting the infrastructure or pertaining to political organizations, campaign or candidate, to the extent of which such activities materially affected the security or integrity of the infrastructure. Heads of all relevant agencies shall transmit to the Director of National Intelligence any information relevant to the execution of the Director's duties. Nothing in this order shall prevent the head of any agency or other appropriate official from tendering to the president at any time through an appropriate channel analysis, information, assessment, or evaluation of foreign interference. If the information indicating that foreign interference is identified, it may be included in appropriate assessment. No later than 30 days following the date of this order, the Secretary of State, Treasury, Attorney General, Homeland Security, Director of National Intelligence shall develop a framework for the process that will be used to carry out their respective responsibilities pursuant to this order. The framework, which may be classified whole or in part, shall focus on ensuring that agencies fulfill their responsibilities pursuant to this order. All property and interest in property that are in the United States, that are hereby come within the United States, and that are blah, 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 are blocked and may not be transferred, paid, exported, withdrawn, or otherwise dealt in any foreign person determined by the Secretary of Treasury in consultation with the state, Attorney General, and Homeland Security. So, basically, what this is saying, as I interpret it, is that Trump can go after everybody connected to Dominion. Now, that would include the people who hired Dominion and anybody who did anything on their behalf because they were working for a foreign agency. And they could really jam this up in terms of their assets. I mean, the whole company's going to be sucked up by this. They're going to be jammed up big time. And so is anybody connected to this. The question is, who's connected to this? This could be the smoking gun right here, or the legal mechanism by which everything's torn down in the election. Let's see. And this would also go after, like, I think, political action committees if they were directly contributing to the voting process in this way. The prohibition of Section 2 of this order include the following: the making of any contribution or provision of funds, goods, or services to or for the benefit of any persons whose property and interest in property are blocked pursuant to this order. The receipt of any contribution or provisional funds, goods, and services for any such person. So, I'm just going to take a wild guess here. If somehow they connect the Biden campaign to the Dominion shenanigans, that they could freeze all their assets and really F them up. Like, make them completely incapable of defending themselves with the big money lawyers in court, which would absolutely petrify them, right? I think at that point, Biden would just back the hell off. He would just say, okay, fine, I'll concede. Now you can't take my money. And that's all I wanted in the first place anyway, right? But I don't know. I mean, this is very broad. It's very broad. And, you know, this could really just, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. There's a lot here. But it's all about money and anybody connected to foreign interference. And really, what are the Democrats going to do? They cried foreign interference for 4 years. Now you have actual proof, and you're going to turn around and say, oh, there's never any foreign interference. I mean, it's the same thing they're doing now, right? They spent 4 years saying, oh my God, the election was rigged. And now that the election was rigged, they're saying, oh my God, the election's not rigged. Are you conspiracy theorists? Elections are only rigged when we lose. So this could be it. This could be the tool they use to punch not just Biden, but the DNC right in the gonads and just cripple them. Cripple them. If they could connect the DNC to this, that's it. That's it. They're done. They will freeze all their assets forever. And they will have to go to court and basically prove that they didn't, that they have no connection to foreign interference. And if they've got the proof, that's it. That's the end of the DNC. Possibly the end of the Clintons, because they got their hands in a lot of pies, and I assume they still have their hands in the DNC. Wouldn't that be something? Wow. I don't know. I could be misinterpreting this whole thing, but you should definitely watch Rudy, because he definitely has an update here, and as they said for 4 years against Trump, the walls are closing in.